Hey, this is Ari in the Air. Welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today I've got a huge story for you. So sit down, buckle up. This one's gonna be a doozy.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Okay, so I want to tell you this whole story. And to do that, we got to go back a decade to when I was traveling in Mexico and I met this beautiful woman. Her name is Christiane. 18 months later, she became my wife, and we spent the next 9 years together. We traveled the world together. We had a loving and committed relationship. We have a beautiful Great Dane together. But in January of this year, 2018, we were in Mexico guiding a paragliding tour. And 4 days into the 2-week trip, she told me that she wanted a divorce. And initially, I was really angry. I was just mad at her for wanting to break up with me. But soon enough, I felt all of the pain that comes with losing the relationship that I had so much identity and pride in, and a lot of sadness that something I was so proud of and was a gem in my life was coming to an end. And that was really hard. So I left Mexico and she stayed. About a month later, I went to Maui to visit my friend Chris Hoyte and to decompress. To decompress in the only way I know how, which is adventuring. We rigged an amazing highline over the black sand beach in Hana, where there was a dead cow floating around in the surf. We scored an incredibly rare flight at Honolulu Bay, where the wind was just perfect.
I am Peter Pan. I really am.
I high-fived this little kid. His dad took an amazing picture of it. It was incredible. We went into the jungle near this beautiful creek and we rigged a highline in the trees where we could just hear the beautiful sounds of nature and the birds and the bugs. All of the while, I was out there, I was reaffirming my friendships, reaffirming my connections with Chris and Jesse and Emmanuel. I was contemplating what attributes make a perfect partner and what kind of person I wanted to attract in my life to fill this space of this relationship that I had lost. I was thinking of who I had to be to not only deserve, but to attract and to capture the kind of person that I thought was out there in the world that could create a relationship with me at the highest level of what I thought was possible. I spent a lot of time talking with these guys about the end of my marriage and the future of my life and all the possibilities. And on the second to last day of this trip, I motivated my friends, I organized the gear, and we went out to Khao Po to rig this incredible highline. The place is just spectacular. It's on the side of the Haleakala volcano, and you can see from the top of the volcano all the way down to the ocean in one single slope. It's just stunning. We got there, it was windy. The rigging was really complicated. I was on the near side, and I created a very complex anchor, wrapping these boulders with rope and making an equalized anchor that went out over the edge. On the far side, Chris Hoyte and Chris Arndt extended the anchor from a solitary tree out over the edge. After a couple hours of intense rigging, we had the line rigged. Right before I get on the line, Maui Chris Taylor, arrives and he had brought a beautiful, beautiful girl. The moment that we saw each other, there was an instant spark, an instant connection. and soon enough we were deep in conversation. The first things I noticed about her was that she was so beautiful. She had such soft, radiant skin. But even more, there was just an energy from her that was very comforting and very soothing and very calming. It was something I couldn't explain. So at this point in the trip, having just met this girl, having just put this high line up, I went out on the line in all of the wind with a motivation that I don't think I've ever highlined with before. So good. It was one of the best highline sessions I've ever had in my life. And the whole experience, it made me realize some things. Here's what I learned. First, I realized pretty viscerally that it's very hard to see ourselves. The husband that I thought I was in my marriage and the husband that I actually was, there was a discrepancy there. So we have to put a huge emphasis on having enough humility in ourselves that we can look at our shadows and our shortcomings. We can take those things seriously, but not so seriously that they crush us, that they depress us, but rather that we can accept them as a part of ourselves in order to grow. Also, we have to surround ourselves with other men of integrity who will help us see ourselves clearly. We do not want yes men in our lives, quite the opposite. We want people who will help us see ourselves and compassionately bring those things to light. Also, I learned about the toxicity that I had in myself in my marriage that was dreaming of the ideal partner. I was dreaming of the ideal partner in my marriage, and I wasn't focused on being the ideal partner. It's very rare that we are our best selves on any given day. We have so much that we're dealing with. We have our own neuroses and our own shit. And it's rare that we actually live to our fullest potential of character. But I think that day that I met Alicia, I was the best version of myself. She came to the line and she sees this huge production, this spectacle, this beautiful place in nature that no one had ever imagined a line to go there before. And she had seen my leadership to get people out there and motivated. She had seen my passion for slacklining. She had seen my knowledge and my experience and my mastery. She had seen my persistence. She saw my joy and my friendships and my communication. She met me on a day where I was just living to my highest potential. But the flip side of that is a difficult choice. I had shown this woman the best possible version of myself. And then I was left with the choice of either pulling the veil and letting her see that the best version of myself was just a facade, it was just an act, or I had to become the show. I had to become the person who was the best version of myself. That was a pretty profound moment in my life. Just imagine that the partner that you currently have, or any partner that you've ever had, imagine the change in them if you were the most fulfilled, most satisfied, most compassionate, most patient, most present version of yourself that you could possibly be. Imagine the changes in that person. How much more secure, how much more confident, how much more fulfilled and satisfied and supported they would be. This right here, this is how you change the world. This is the reality of why we want to become our best selves. Because this is how we change the world. It changes how you see the world, and it changes the world in actuality. That's a beautiful thing. We get to be our best selves, and by doing so, we literally change the world. Thanks everybody for filming. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to these very personal stories. I'm sure that in the future we're going to have just action, just adventure. Feels good just to get these things out there, and I want to share these lessons with you, and I hope that they give you some kind of perspective that allows you to treat the people around you a little bit better and aim a little higher. So, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.